Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Poker's Corner, the biggest gob in sport. We say the things on here that nobody dare say. But we also say the things in here that everybody can say. All you've got to do is send me an email, pokercorner@mail.com, the bottom left-hand corner, and let's have you on. Let's have a debate. It's not science, is it? Right, we're joined by Kent. Let's let rip. Here's Kent. Women love him, men want to be him. How are you doing, Kent?
How's it going, Russell? Keeping all right?
I'm all right, mate. I'm plodding on. I'm a plodder, me, Ken. Kent. I don't like any aggravation in life. So, how are you?
Yeah, could be worse. It could be worse. It's, have a saying, you count your blessings, don't you?
Listen, mate. I went for a run yesterday morning. It rained. You can't do that when you're in prison, can you, mate?
No.
Right.
No, definitely not.
Had a long day today, but this is going to be worth it when we've got Kent on. Special guest appearance.
The governor's back.
The governor is back. Is that what you're calling yourself now, Kent? The governor?
Well, I am, aren't I?
Have we changed your name, Kent, from the hardcore to the governor?
I'm the self-proclaimed governor. Every governor that's ever been is always a self-proclaimed governor. So whatever people want to call me, they can call me. I've been called worse.
And Paul Ince.
Yeah. Lenny McLean was the first, and Paul Ince. Paul Ince was called the governor when he was playing for West Ham. So he was a fantastic player. Paul Ince, super player.
Right. Chilly. I'm not a chilly man. Watched the film Blue Steel. Have you seen it? 1990, Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, I actually haven't heard of that. What's it about?
She's a copper in it, and she's going out with this guy who's killing people.
Don't tell me all the story.
Ron Silver's in it. Ron Silver's in it, and Jamie Lee Curtis. It's called Blue Steel. You'll have to watch it. It's on the net.
I'll put that on my list.
Blue Steel. Kent, where do we start? Where do we start after that performance? First of all, did you see Bricktop walking out to the ring, holding Turkey's hand? Yes or no?
Yeah.
What did you think? Yeah. What's your view on that?
It's something I wouldn't do anyway. You hear things about culture and it's culture there and this and that, but it's not my cup of tea, Russell.
Not mine either. And do you know what? If anybody would have told Bricktop he had to hold their hand at any other show that he's put on over years, he'd have told him where to go, wouldn't he?
I'll ask you a question. Would he hold Ben Shalon's hand walking to the ring?
Would he hold Bob Arams, the Bob father, or Adrian Moles? So we don't know, do we, Kent? We don't know. But the show will bang on, wasn't it?
It's a fantastic show. You can't go wrong with that show. It was a show that was put together, did not fail. It was the right matchups at the right time. It was a really expansive show. I enjoyed it, and I turned off the Sky Nicholson fight. I was bored with that. So
yeah. That was only let down that one, wasn't it? But that's women's boxing. I mean, you could predict what that was going to be. A Sky Nicholson points win.
Yeah, and that could have happened at the any fight, but I was bored by that fight, so I turned it off. And what did I watch instead? Actually, I don't know. I just turned it off and went and made my dinner and then come back. But it was a really, really good show. It was really enjoying. There were some good fights. There was some brave matchmaking in it. And I enjoyed the show overall. I did. I just find sometimes at these shows and events that they're branded now.
Yeah.
I think before the main event, it needs to happen a bit quicker. Now, I did enjoy Missy Elliott miming her set. I haven't seen Missy Elliott in 20. It was like late 90s, and Buster Rhymes. I always liked Buster Rhymes back in the day. It's fantastic. But I just find it goes on and on and on, and I think it's hard for the fighters to come out sharp, but surely they know that. But it's an event now. It's not just a boxing event. I think they're conditioning people now to it's an event more than anything. And I just for me, I just want to see the boxing. You know, you can watch maybe the concert after the boxing, but
is Buster Rhymes still going
just
strong? Is Buster Rhymes still out? Is that someone who used to sing that? Baby, if you give it to me, I give it to you. You know what I want. That's like 20 odd years ago, isn't it? That song.
Yeah, he was one of these rappers in the 90s that just used to appear in everyone's songs and sing over songs and turn up. And it was like, do you remember Nate Dogg in the 90s and the 2000s?
Yeah,
He was another one. He just used to appear and sing over people's songs and get a fortune. But I thought he looked okay. I thought Missy Elliott looked well. I would say she would be in her 50s now, maybe older. But for me, I'm just old school. I just want to see the boxing, and you know, you can watch the concert after the fights because it does drag on a bit.
I don't know what to make of all that rap scene now after seeing all these videos on YouTube. I mean, I'm not sure if it's overkill now because I don't know what to make of it all. Do you? All that scene, all with that P Diddy and all that lot. You know, have you seen it?
I've heard about it, but one of my mates was telling me about it the other day. My mate Gareth was telling me about it, and it
makes you wonder what they do when they go back to their houses.
I just couldn't believe it. I just the more you see it, and I heard Jim Cornette, wrestling podcast talking about it the other night, and it's crazy. I just stuff like that. There, I want to read positive things and hear positive things, and sometimes the more you listen and the more you read, it just totally disturbs you. So it does.
This morning with Ellen, when P did his lists come out or something, his list of people and whatever were doing what they were doing, these freak off parties, and that Ellen DeGeneres, you know, that lesbian talk show host, she was seen leaving on a private jet, wasn't she? So I saw that like 2 million views in like 12 hours or something. So I don't know what to make of it all, but no, it's not boxing.
I'll not be clicking in there. I have no interest in it. I'm just boxing. I want to try and, for me, at the minute, I'm going through a phase of self-improvement in my life. I want to improve. I want to feel happy. I want to do things that improve me as a person. And clicking into all that stuff and beefs and this and that, I have no interest.
Beef. You want to talk about beef? Have you seen the fake intense beef with amongst everybody around all the Saudi liquor squad? That's what we are. That's what we call them now. All that among to Saudi, the Saudi liquor squad. That's what they are to me. My opinion. The whole lot of them, liquors. Embarrassing. He's got beef. There's beef with this. There's beef with. They've got enough. There's enough beef to put Asda out of business.
It's just vomit fest. It really is. It's pure vomit. It is. It would make you sick. And I was thinking about it the other day. So over there, a country like over there that's really strict and has really staunch rules on everything, and you get in someone's face and you start a row and you assault someone, you'd be in jail for 6 months. So all that beef and all that nonsense and getting into people's faces, I'm sure you're referring to Nigel's son. That's complete and utter nonsense. You know, if he was to go and start a row with someone or get in someone's face and anything broke out like that, you're talking possibility of prosecution and jail. So I don't see it. I just see right through it. It's so transparent. It's as transparent as clear perspex. It's complete and utter vomit. So it is. It's vomit, and him running about. You know, if these guys, a lot of these guys are fighters and they're competitive. We tell you, if someone got in my face like that, you know, I wouldn't let anybody get in my face and do that with me. So for me, it looked really, really staged. It looked embarrassing, to be honest. It looked, you know what it looked like? I actually thought Eubank didn't actually play the way that it was probably meant to be, because he was just laughing at him. And Nigel's son was just like desperate. It was like almost like the boys from the Black Stuff, you know, that series from the 80s, the coal miners, you know, about the coal miners, give us a job, give us a job. It was like he was begging for a fight. It was absolutely embarrassing.
Yozza Hughes.
It was awful, awful.
Do you remember that? I'm Yozza Hughes.
He looked, Nigel's son is desperate and looked desperate for a payday because he's not relevant anymore.
I noticed that Eddie Hills was in the vicinity, and Coogan were there with his camera, Johnny on the spot. So Crushers put it on Junior, and after weighing, and then Eddie's turned around and gone, "Oh, I was just getting a coffee. What's going on?" Like he didn't know.
We tell you, it's like this. You know, everyone knows that Eubank Jr. as a teenager was running around America, having fights and getting in the proper fights on the street with kids, and it's all online. You can go and look at it now. Nigel's son was in private school at that time and has never been in a fight in his life. Now, if Nigel's son were to try and put it on Eubank, Chris would smash him up and bash and slap him about. So that would, you know, that's how you know it was fake. It was so put on. It was embarrassing. He just went. I think someone needs to get Nigel's son acting lessons because he's terrible. You know, that appearance in that Rise of the Foot Soldiers film must be getting to his head. But that was terrible. Eddie, get Nigel's son acting lessons because he's crap. He's almost as crap a actor as he is a fighter.
I want to know when he's going to win a belt.
Well, he's got the only belt he's going to win, the only belt he'll ever have is a snake belt or a Gucci belt. That's about it.
Okay. Well, let's start off at the beginning. We've got Alakel and Gonzalez. Joe Gallagher's guy, he got a win. What do you think to that? Did you see that one?
I missed it. No, I missed it. I got in. I didn't start watching until the Sky Nicholson fight, and then I turned it off. I had to go and cook dinner.
All right then. Well, he got a win. Moving on from that, Ben Whittaker, Olympic silver medalist against former Commonwealth middleweight champion Liam Cameron, now fighting at light heavyweight. Ben Whittaker looked to me like had been exposed as a fraud.
This has been happening for about a year, Russell.
Who's his trainer? Who's his trainer?
It's Joby Clayton.
That's it. And who it's Big Freezer's trainer, Angel Hernandez.
Yeah.
Well, these are the two that took over Joshua, didn't they? Then Garcia came in to oversee it.
And ruined him.
All basically between a lot of them. They ruined Joshua. But we'll get back to Ben Whittaker. So he's got Joby Clayton, right? And he's a Sky fighter, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is that why Massey went into bat for him after the fight, do you think?
Of course he did. It was, this has been happening for about a year, and Sky were trying to build this fighter, this high profile in name, with all these ring entrances and comparing him to Nazim Hamed. And regardless of what you think of Nazim Hamed's career, you know, he was entertaining. He was a superstar of the 90s. He won multiple world titles, knocked people out. Nazim Hamed was the real deal, Russell.
Yeah.
And they're comparing Ben Whittaker to Nazim Hamed and having these orchestras and walk-ons and DJ sets and big entrances within like his first handful of fights. The showboating. It's okay showboating if you can actually fight. It's okay having the ring entrances if you can actually fight. I actually am not sure he can fight. And I noticed that last year at a last minute opponent come in, a young lad come in 3 days notice, and I thought he exposed him. Yeah. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, You have had a silver spoon probably the last 5 years. You've up in EIS, sparring world level, funded, fighting in world level tournaments. You should be getting rid of that type of lad in 1 or 2 rounds. Not only could he not get rid of him, he was getting hit. So I'm not 100%. I wasn't 100% sure then, and they were nicknaming him, the surgeon after the late great Frankie Randall. Frankie Randall would have stood Ben Whittaker on his head.
Frankie
he wasn't even the
Randall
same
beat
weight.
fucking Chavez, didn't he? Gave him his first defeat, did he?
He gave Chavez his first defeat, and they robbed him in the rematch. So they did. The rematch happened like 2.5 months later, and they absolutely robbed him. So they did. That was an absolute disgrace. I'll get into that another time. But for me, Ben Whittaker, then I'm not sure about him. And what Sky were trying to do was at the weekend there was it backfired wrong on them. So plan A for Ben Shalon, the build Ben Whittaker, was sign Eubank Jr. That was plan A. We'll sign him. He's there to the year. We'll get them fighting, and we'll step up Eubank Jr. and he'll go in and do a job for Ben Whittaker, and that's Ben Whittaker now, high profiling Sky superstar. And last night, that went up in smoke because I thought he was exposed massively.
The actual fight, I give Ben Whittaker at first round, big head, and then after that, I didn't give him another round.
No, I didn't. I had it the exact same as you. I thought Liam Cameron was leading. The
3
fight,
rounds to punching. 1 up. Liam were 3-1 up going into 5th.
And I think it's a remarkable, for Liam Cameron. It's a rags to riches. Wasn't too long ago that nobody wanted him. He had no promoter. He had no manager. He's got himself back. He's had personal tragedy. I think it's been really, really good for him. I know it was a technical draw, but I think that on his record is going to really, really help his profile, and it's going to get him big fights. It's fantastic for him, and I hope he was well paid.
I know.
We have the whole Ben Whittaker thing was where he was working with Sugar Hill Kronk style. Then it went from Kronk style to the no style, and now with Joby Clayton as well. For me, just looks like an absolute robot.
He'll be down river now, Joby Clayton. They'll get rid of him because his ego's off the charts, isn't he? Isn't it, that Ben Whittaker?
He's terrible. I think it's all right having an ego in sport, because you look at the best athletes in the world. You look at Tiger Woods. You look at Jordan. They've all these athletes have egos, and that's fine. But he hasn't earned it. He hasn't earned the right to have an ego, and I think he was really badly exposed last night by Liam Cameron.
What Anthony Yarden had done to Ben Whittaker last night?
He'd have smashed him inside out. So he would have. He smashed him up.
He would have done. He would have done. All right then. Ben Whittaker, he'll probably get rid of Joby Clayton now.
I don't think so. I personally, no, because I'll tell you why. I think he's one of these guys that he wants yes men around him, and he wants to dictate what he's doing. Can you imagine, right? Name me a trainer. Name me a real tough trainer.
Teddy Atlas.
Right. Can you imagine Ben Whittaker walking in to Teddy Atlas and basically being told what to do 6 days a week, all day? No. Can't see it. I think Joby Clayton will stay, and I think he's one of these fighters that just basically trains himself and tells everybody else what to do and wants yes men around him.
Could you imagine Peter Fury training Ben Whittaker, and Ben Whittaker telling him what needs to be done and all this kind of thing? Last 2 minutes, would he?
I was going to say about 90 seconds.
The door's there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's a fit. I think Ben Whittaker's problem is Ben Whittaker. Boxing isn't about getting Twitter followers and comments and how many views you get for your showboating clips. That's not what it's about.
I think what you'll see now, you'll see Ben Whittaker go Mr. Humble route. But the amazing thing is, Eddie Hills was waxing lyrical about signing him all week in all his interviews. All he's done is talk about signing him if he's free, if he's a free agent, this and that. Well, let me tell you this: Johnny Horsecock works for Sky, and that Sky lot last night, they weren't going into bat for him. Only Macklin did, and Macklin more ringside, wasn't he? Right, playing the company man. He's now the new Johnny Nelson, Macklin. But Johnny Nelson, aka Horsecock, he didn't go into bat for him. He said he needs to think before he comes out and makes a statement regarding that performance. So that tells me that Sky will now not be bothered about him anyway, and they'll let him go because he's a waste of investment. That's how I'm reading.
It's a massive, massive, massive waste of investment. So you think about all the shows he's been on. He's been on those shows that football stadium shows, Chris Belmsmith shows that they've been putting on, and his build-up and his entrances and his exposure was more than the main event.
Yeah.
And that's all money. And for me, how are they going to generate that back of him? What really at this stage of his career, we all talk about Anthony Yard, this and that, but at least Anthony Yard actually went to Russia and challenged for a world title when he was fighting at basically domestic level and hadn't fought anybody even at British level.
Yeah.
So where is this Ben Whittaker thing going to go? For me, the deal was signing Eubank Jr. and Eubank Jr. going up to light heavyweight, him doing the job for Whittaker, and now with a big star. And that's not gonna to work now. Who would want to go and watch Ben Whittaker now after that? He came out of the arena in a wheelchair. Come on.
A
wheelchair.
Land on his ankle.
Well, you talked about Johnny Nelson there. Now, Johnny Nelson's coming out now on YouTube and hammering everyone. And now he's actually being Johnny. He's actually being himself.
Been like that all his life, mate. Been like that all his life. It's just that basically probably just got fed up of people like me pulling him up on the nonsense. Like Tackham's like Holyfield and George Foreman rolled into one, and he fears for Joshua. He's come out with that much waffle over years because he were like him and Bean played good cop, bad cop, didn't they? Him and Super Bean. The guy that whipped teeth decay and cancer, but yet there's no documentary on Sky about him after 28 years service. A lot of rubbish. That Dave Clark, he's still at Sky, isn't he? You know what I'm on about?
Great presenter, the darts presenter. He's a fantastic
he had a massive
guy.
illness, didn't he, at Sky? And they backed him to ill. They didn't Bean, and we all know why. So why come out with that waffle? But getting back to Johnny Horsecock, Bean would say one thing, Johnny would say other. Bean would say Joshua's favourite. Johnny would say, "Oh, I don't know. I can see Eric Molina giving Joshua a torrid time." They played it for years wonderfully to build Joshua out there, throwing Eddie Hills into the mix. A lot of them were in the mix together. But when Eddie left Sky, all went a bit sour, didn't it, what they all thought about Joshua? You know where I'm coming from? So Johnny's he doesn't know which side of the fence he is, so now he's having to go other way, but like just tell the truth.
He's now then he was a robot. He was being controlled.
Like Matchroom is now.
Matchroom were controlling Sky, and it got very tired. The
Very
product
boring.
got sour, boring, tired. The product was sour, and people were sick of it. And now Johnny's actually becoming himself and showing himself. And I think now Sky let their punditry have a wee bit more of a voice. But also you've got Macklin there, who kind of goes, he's the kind of company man now. Everyone else is kind of rogue. Natasha can say how she feels. Johnny can say how he feels. that's what you want to see, and that's proper punditry. You want to have people disagreeing because
Well, like Roy Keane and Graham Souness, don't we?
Yeah, that's what we need. We want to basically, you want to hear it like you're talking to your mates at work, or you're talking to your mates at football, you're talking to your mates down at the pub. That's the kind of conversation you want to have. You want to have real passionate analysis. And with Sky for so long, we didn't have that. And Johnny's kind of getting a bit of credibility back now. And regardless of what's going on with Whittaker, is he a free agent? Isn't he a free agent? How could Johnny, with how he's been coming out and coming across the last few months, go to bat for Ben? How could anyone go to bat for Ben Whittaker after that?
Not going to bat for Ben Whittaker because he got flogged in round 2, 3, and 4. He was hanging up a dear life in round 5, and he was looking for a way out, and then he blamed his ankle, and then they got him in a wheelchair. All a load of old pony macaroni. We know what we saw. The camera don't lie. Johnny couldn't defend that. Macklin, you're embarrassing. Matthew Macklin were embarrassing.
It's indefensible to defend that. There's no answers for it. It's pure vomit.
So
gone out in the
Eddie
wheelchair.
Earls wanted to sign Whittaker, yes or no, Ken?
No chance.
Okay. Will there be a rematch with Liam Cameron?
No chance.
They're not going to. They'll have to rebuild him, won't they? I think Sky will run his deal down, and he'll be just one of them guys that aren't going to deal. That's what I think. I don't think nobody will take him on. You see, he rubbed everybody up the wrong way. De Gale did the same thing here, if you remember, and he kept getting pinged around the promoters, didn't he, until he figured it all out, didn't he? Do you remember?
Absolutely. He was with, first of all, it was with Frank Warren. Then Frank Warren. McHennessy. Then he went from Hennessy to Sky. Then he went from Sky to PBC.
Yeah.
And was kind of no man's land after that. It was just, I think the damage was done so early on that he was impossible to rebuild. It was impossible.
Yeah. Okay. Sky Nicholson, Eddie's bit of fluff. She won on points. We all said that, didn't we? Then we come to Jack Massey, Joe's guy, and Opatia. Joe saved him for another day, didn't he?
That probably saves about 2 or 3 years on his career, and probably 6 or 7 fights. It was very brave to take that fight. These guys are fighters. Jack Massey, for me, is one of the most improved fighters I've seen in the UK in the past 18 months. I'm not just saying that because I'm pro Joe Gallagher. I like him.
Yeah.
But I actually really like how Jack Massey's improved as a fighter since joining Joe Gallagher. He's won domestic titles. He has got a lot fitter. His style's slightly better. He's more, he's more entertaining than he was. He's improved. He's been active. He's a very much improved fighter, and to be offered a chance to fight Jai Apataya, for me, is the undisputed champion in cruiserweight. This is a guy that is going to move up to heavyweight. Whenever all the dust is settled, when AJ's gone, Fury's gone, Usyk's gone, Zhang's gone, all these guys are on the wrong side of 30. Yeah. I actually could see Jai Apataya going up to heavyweight and blasting Danny Dubois.
Would you?
I could see him doing that right now. That's how good he is. And this guy's he's like a warrior. He really is born to fight. Fighting in his blood. He's like a Maori warrior. He is unbelievable. I think he brings passion. He brings fire. He brings fight. For me, he's going to be one of the next big stars in boxing.
Yeah.
Superstar.
Well, Jack Massey will come again, I think.
It was a brave performance. He went out fighting. There was times Jai Apataya won every round of the fight, but Jack Massey was still forcing it and still landing shots and still trying to win the fight. So that's a very commendable performance from Jack Massey. You know, many cruiserweights in the world right now that beats Jay Apataya.
Yeah.
None.
Okay. It's Big Freeze against Wardley. We can't call Wardley really white collar Wardley now, can we? After that.
So what we had is going back to Sky and Matchroom leaving Sky having no fighters, no talent. You know, basically Sky's big name signing was Nathan Gorman and Natasha Jonas. They were the big fighters that was meant to save Sky Boxing. So that shows you what a state Sky Boxing was then. No disrespect to either fighter. And that no stable. And then they sign Olympic, you know, bronze or silver medalist. He comes in. He's a name brand fighter because of his Olympic pedigree.
Yeah.
And what they do right away to build the fighter is, right, well, we don't have time to build a fighter, but we'll build the personality. And before you know it, he's on commentating and he's on Punditry, and we haven't really seen much of him fighting yet. So when you give a fighter that right away, I find it really hard to be 100% focused on developing yourself and doing what it takes yourself to be a fighter.
Yeah.
You're either a fighter or you're a pundit. I find it really, really hard to mix the both. And it's okay giving it the likes of Natasha Jonas or some other fighters who are world champions. They can go on and talk as a world champion, but whenever you haven't had a professional fight or fought for a professional title and you're on as a pundit, for me, I think it came too early for him. And you know, the punditry came and the profile came too early, but the professional ranks came too late. It's a brutal sport. You know, the amateur scene is, you're very much protected with the gloves, head guards. You know, a funded fighter, it's 3 rounds, it's less wear and tear. And going from that as an older fighter into the professional ranks with years of wear and tear behind you, very, very hard. Very hard.
Do you think that it's Big Freeze will say that he got caught cold, or do you think that he's 34, his next birthday? You think he's an old heavyweight?
Yeah. It's. I don't want to hear that. I was caught cold. Well, you knew what time you were going to be fighting at. You've been in the arena for the last 2 or 3 hours. You know, what are you doing for those 2 and 3 hours you're in the arena? I don't want to hear that excuse as a professional athlete. A professional athlete should not be caught. That saying, caught cold, it doesn't resonate with me. It's, you know, what are you doing for those 3 hours? You know, you get to the arena, you get changed, you get your hands done, you stimulate your central nervous system, you do some cardio, and you do that over and over, but you do it with a wee bit more volume, you do it with a wee bit more intensity, and you're ready to fight. You know, they all have slots allocated when they're gonna be fighting round about. So I don't want to hear that. I just think it's gotten to a time where it came too late. And I watched the thing last week, and I watched the Lennox Lewis, you know, tutorial and the jab, which is great. I agree with everything. That's for me how you would throw a jab.
Yeah.
But that's not how you start throwing a jab as a 34-year-old heavyweight who's been fighting the same way his whole life and had multiple trainers. It's stupid and idiotic to think that just because you've had a few lessons at Lennox Lewis on how to throw a jab, you're going to be able to do that for 12 rounds.
Lennox Lewis is not a trainer. He was giving David Price advice at one point, wasn't he?
Exactly. You know, great fighters don't make great trainers. That doesn't, you know, for me, you stick to what you know, you stick to what you're good at, and you build your foundation around that. And he came out, and Wardley looked to me like when Fraser started throwing the jab, he looked like he was confident he could throw that hook backhand. You know, it wasn't really a big straight right hand. He threw it as like an arcing hook because he knew he had the room, because the lead hand was so far out and so low. He could have threw that shot and landed. It was.
You think you look ponderous, Ken? It's Big Freeze.
I don't think he's great balance. He doesn't carry much power, and there's not much pace in his shots. He doesn't really work at an intensity. I think he likes to pick his. It's like that amateur style, you know. As heavyweight hasn't really changed. It's like pick your points and move. Pick your points and move. Where I don't think he's a fighter that can fight at sustained volume or intensity.
Do you think Freeze should leave the pundit work and concentrate on getting fit? Because to me, he ain't the fastest heavyweight in the world on his feet or his hand speed, and maybe he might need to spend a bit more time getting his weight down and spending more time in gym and less time with a microphone in his hand. Do you think?
Well, no, Russell, because he's been doing that for years in the IS. He's been a full-time athlete for a long time. He's been a funded professional athlete for a long time. Yes, I agree with what you said was correct. But if you don't know how to train now, or you don't know what to do to get better at this stage of your career, you're not going to get any better, Russell.
No. Do you want to go on to part 2, Ken?
Yep.
Well then, cheers, mate. Please join us on part 2, and don't forget, Porky's International is our sister channel. Feel free to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Also, in November, from November onwards, anybody doing a Zoom on Porky's Corner, the most views for the month, you get 100 quid into your bank. The email is in the bottom left-hand corner of my picture here. porkycorner@mail.com. One, I'll see you on part 2. We Kent. Women love him. Men want to be him. Pop, pop.